What up, y'all? It's your boy John, and we're back with another episode of the Just No BS podcast. As I mentioned, I'm John. To my right, I
Um,
got Dev,
yo,
and at the end, I got Caleb. So, like I said last week's episode was just kind of getting to know us. So today, we're really gonna get it rolling here. We're gonna start talking we're gonna talk some shit, honestly. And I figured, you know what? One thing that always gets Black people talking is talking about the culture. What does it mean? No, who we even talking about? Are we talking about black men, black women, black people? What is the culture? Are we talking about nerds, etc.? So I just kind of wanted to get us started with that. But to begin, what's new, y'all? What we got?
Man, just enjoying the week, man. I'm looking at some new games. I'm anxious to get into this topic. I can't hold you, especially in light of the things that have been happening this whole week. And you just see both sides of what is culture, what isn't culture, who's in it, who should be allowed to speak. Just yeah, we're gonna have fun. We're gonna have fun. I might get in trouble today, so.
uh,
Hey, whatever you do, just don't get us kicked off YouTube. What about you, Devin? What's new this week?
same old stuff, craziness as always. Talking about games, I've been redoing my run of Baldur's Gate 3 with the new mod manager, so not gonna lie, it kind of changes up everything, so it's like playing the game all over again.
Fair, fair. I'm actually looking forward to the new Legend of Zelda next week. It's the
Mm-hmm.
first game you actually play as Zelda, so that should be a nice little switch up for once. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, Legend of Zelda, we've never played as Zelda. Well, not in like main games anyway. So it's gonna be the first one of that. And then Life is Strange 2 comes out in October, so I'm also looking pretty excited to that. Well, not two, but the double impact, double trouble, whatever it's called. But the second game featuring the original girl. So that's what's on my horizon game wise. So you brought it up, Caleb. Speaking of stuff that's happened this week, y'all heard about this Shxtsngigs stuff? The podcast group.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
yeah.
So to any listeners or future listeners that don't know, Shxtsngigs is a British podcasting duo. Well, technically it's four of them, but the two main pieces are our duo, and they got into some hot water by getting on one of Andrew Schultz's podcasts. Um, and if you know anything about Andrew Schultz, that man he attacks pretty much any group, any culture. So it don't
Mm-hmm.
matter if you're white, Indian, black, from the Pacific Islands, or uh, disabled, whatever. He will make jokes about pretty much anyone. And while theoretically that makes him unbiased, it does make him a jerk. And
Mm-hmm.
they got on one of his podcasts and just really did not. They messed up. They could have messed up their bag a little bit there. So I'm just gonna pull up, see if we can get this working this time. I'm gonna try and pull up this article here. All right, so y'all should be seeing that. And basically, I just grabbed something from Baller Alert. Don't look too much into it. We're gonna break it down. But basically, this is the podcasting duo. So they had to issue an apology because they let Andrew Schultz. They didn't check Andrew Schultz when they should have. So Andrew Schultz cracked some joke about black women because let me get this ad off of here. Yeah. He was cracking jokes about black women, but it was more of like a joke where he was trying to offhandedly compare who they date typically. And while they kind of went with the PC answer of like we date everybody, so to speak, the real issue is that they let Andrew Schultz talk about black women in a way that is not conducive, and unfortunately, most of their main audience are black women. Those are the people that they that kind of brought them to where they are now. So it's like, just thinking about it, you should probably protect the bag by being like, "Yo, chill out." Like, even if you said we love all women, you should have been like, we love all women, especially black women. But like, it's one of those things where you got to know who your fan base is, and then you got to protect that. Um, yeah, what do y'all think? Because I was looking at this and I was just like, this is not a good look, y'all.
Yeah, nah. I think they're dumb because since once this hit the fan, people started combing through some of their earlier work and everything else like that. They had recently sat down with these two black women on a podcast. And they were essentially like, "Yeah, we've been here. We've been in Atlanta." They were doing like a American
Oh
tour,
yeah.
and they were like, "Yeah, we've been here in Atlanta for a couple of days." And I'm gonna be honest, like Atlanta doesn't have baddies. And when I heard that, I was like, "Oh, y'all don't like black women." That's all I need to hear. Because for you to utter that, you either are making a concentrated effort not to be around attractive black women, or your preference just isn't black women. Um, so they started getting kicked back and pushed back for that, and then this happened. Um, they didn't really handle it tactfully whatsoever. Jazo Devin might not say it. Andrew Schultz is a racist. If you don't like it, I don't give a damn. Because period point blank, if all of your talking points and your ideologies align with racist, you're a racist, bro. Period point blank. If all of your thought process and ideologies align with Nazis, what are you? You're a Nazi, bro. Period point blank. So that's how because I knew Andrew Schultz through his like comedian side and everything else like that. He did like the early parts of him doing the Flagrant Foul podcast. He's like Charlemagne the God's understudy. And Charlemagne the God isn't a great judge of character either. We're going to talk about that later too, because this all ties together. So when you have a guy, a black guy, who's willing to sell out his own people to secure a bag or put himself in a better position, and he's essentially your stamping black person that pushes you on the black community, you subconsciously feel justified in saying whatever it is you want to say about black people, period. And he's moved comfortably in that space. All of the black people that have been around him in an orbit of him are allowed him to get this shit off. And these two idiots are just the latest two casualties of that. Like you hanging around, you joking with it and laughing about it. They were trying to talk about like black women essentially like when guys of other races get with black women, like they kind of like glow up or whatever. And they're like, yeah, like they get the fade, they get in shape, they get tattoos. And Andrew Schultz's first thing was like, yeah, they're getting the fade and everything else like that because black women are stressing them out so bad they're losing their hair. So they have to cut it. And they laughed at that. And that's the thing with racist white people. They will push the line, see what you're okay with. And then once you like, okay, then they just keep on walking it and walking it and walking it. They never stopped it. And then they didn't even ask him to take that part out of the podcast. They just left it in there. So again, that's like you tripling down on being an idiot. So I don't feel bad for him. Black women do y'all thing, rip them to shreds. I don't care. But hey, man, y'all stepped on some rakes. This is what happens. Stop hanging around racist white people. I don't know.
Yeah, and the weird thing is, I'm gonna let you go real quick, Dev. But the weird thing I found about this situation is, in other podcast situations, whether it's like the Pivot podcast with the football players, or like one of my favorite podcasts with Matt Barnes and
Yeah.
the All the Smoke. Those podcasts, they've had moments where like the person they went on was like, you know what, I didn't feel comfortable talking about this for various reasons. It could be stuff like, you know what, we talked a little bit too much about my life in like abusive situations. I don't want necessarily, I want you to cut this part out. Just, and they'll be like, I bet, you know what, you're a guest. We want you to feel welcome. We want you to feel safe. Because in the Shxtsngigs, they made their apology. They dropped a video with an apology, and they were talking about how they didn't feel comfortable talking to Andrew Schultz. Well, my thing is, if you didn't, you would have went back to him before it dropped and been like, yo, there are parts of this conversation we would like you to either cut out or don't drop it at all, because we didn't feel comfortable. Like if you were in an actual safe place, you could tell the host, and that doubles down on Kittle's point. Andrew Schultz seems to be that kind of person where like, if you didn't feel safe, you can't tell him, hey, cut that part out, or we don't want to talk about that because we didn't feel comfortable.
Agreed.
Yeah, what you got, Dev?
So first off, I want to go and say with that entire situation, uh, I felt insulted for black women and black men because
True.
right when he's going and saying like, "Oh, hey," he's basically saying that a black man can't look good unless it's basically being beaten into him.
Yeah.
That's really what it boiled down to.
Yeah.
Like, what? So we can't, make ourselves look good. We can't, work with women who are like, oh, hey, you know what? I want my boyfriend, my husband, whoever, to look good as well. Like, no, black people can't do that.
Mhm.
That's what I got out of that. So the fact that they didn't immediately react to that, either on the sense of like, oh, hey, let's go ahead and defend our audience here, or just on themselves, responding and saying, oh, hey, no, I look good just on my own in general. That means that either, hey, they're being stupid or anything, it's just going right over their heads, or they know about it and to some degree they almost agree with it. And that's my concern. And the fact that they didn't put anything out saying like, "Oh, hey, you know what? Those aren't the thoughts that we have," or "We're apologizing in advance for what we know is going to come on there." Because, yeah, if they were on, someone else's podcast, they might not feel comfortable saying, "Hey, cut this particular part out." They should have done something on their own podcast saying like, "Hey, just before this gets out, we just wanted to go and address this." But the fact that they didn't do so until after everyone had a reaction to it makes
Exactly.
me feel like, okay, you just said that just to, get the heat off of you. So,
Mhm.
Yeah, now, well, I will say I did listen to the apology, and what I will say is that in my personal life, I try not to give anybody any kind of label unless I see a pattern of it. As I've watched Shxtsngigs, I find them very funny. I like a lot of the stuff they do. What I will
mhm,
say is this is the first time I've had a hard feeling like they might not, like black women. Like it's the first time. Like there are
Yeah.
some jokes that you're like, okay, I'm part, I get it because I'm black, I'm gonna let, it's just funny. But like this is the
mhm.
first time I'm just like, like it made me cringe. So I'm like, you know what? This is your first strike for me. Y'all got
Yeah.
one more strike, and then on that third one, it's a pattern. Because
Mhm.
once I hear something the third time, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna solidify this. Right now, I'm watching y'all. It was like when some celebrities have those cringe moments where you're just like, I'm watching you, I see you, and then that like third time, that moment where you're just like, okay, nah, I don't fuck y'all no more. Like I'm giving them the grace because everybody messes up. Everyone deserves a little bit of grace, so I'm gonna give that to them. This is your
And that's
first
fair.
strike for me.
That's
This
fair. They
this
got they're done. This was the last strike for me because I saw him interviewing. I think it's called like Poor Minds with the two black women. Pour minds.
Yeah,
Um,
I saw some of those clips. Yeah.
they did that. Then they went back and found one of their earlier podcast clips where they were sitting down together and they were talking about like this woman, this white woman who really wanted to be black because they were watching like a show together or whatever, and he's like, why would you want to be us? Like you're winning in life, you're white. Um, and then it was like, and even if you became a black woman, it sounded like a black man will want you anyway. Then they were joking like that back then. That's three. That's
Mhm.
three. Boom, boom, boom. That's all I needed. I'm good because because now when you have a situation like this to where it's like you have stepped over the line and Andrew Schultz is still kicking their back in, making fun of them for their apology. So now you're in a rough and a hard spot because you're an idiot. Y'all have been documented idiots from what we've seen. You see what I'm saying? So now, more than likely, you're going to lose a bunch of your black fan base, and this is how people get into that incel, red pill, MGTOW pipeline because you lose the women because you're being too weird, and then you're like, well, I didn't need you anyway. So then the rhetoric ramps up a little bit more. And then the fan base of the weirdos come in and embolden you. Now they're helping you pay your bills. They've substituted as a new fan base, which even more radicalizes you. So it's just going to get worse. And I'm not going to sit around and watch like, I don't need to be in the house to know it's on fire, bro. I see the smoke from down the street. I'm good. Y'all got it, bro.
That's fair. At least to borrow your smoke analogy, at least for me right now, it's like someone messed up in the kitchen. I'm getting a little bit of smoke. The smoke alarm went off, but nothing's on fire yet. So I'm gonna let y'all like see if y'all can handle the fire and douse it and be like, look, gonna throw this out, start over. If they do that, I'm like, all right, cool, you deserve the grace. But if they keep trying to, do it and then start a grease fire and burn the house down, all right, I'm done.
See, I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle there. Like, as people who have been doing this for a while, I feel like to some degree they should kind of know better to like a certain level. So I kind of see it like oh, hey, you have a chef in the kitchen. The chef just, started a grease fire in the kitchen. Yeah, they were able to put it out, but again, they know better. They have the skills to know how not to go and cause that to happen.
Yeah.
And they just didn't exercise that. I'm going to be looking at them like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'll let them prove otherwise. But I'm definitely looking. I'm definitely watching there.
Yeah. Also, one last thing before we get to the next one. I would also be pushed to give more grace if, number one, they weren't from the country that literally invented modern day racism as we freaking know it. You were at the factory where they print and distribute racist white people for the better part of your life, and then you come over to America, and just because it's a little bit more subtle, it's a little bit more nuanced now because,
honestly, I'm sorry, real quick, America and subtle. Nah, fam. It's more out there. I would actually argue that Britain is more subtle with their racism than America now. Like Britain's, they got the accent, they got the different lingo, they got the different slang, so you could probably get away with some different terminology. But America, nah, nothing subtle about that. They try to be slick, but it ain't subtle.
I'm talking about like the corporate sphere. Like if in a working sphere here in America, like you've been in positions like on a job or whatever where you're like in a meeting talking with a white coworker and they'll like say something very like, if you don't pay attention, you won't catch what they just did right there.
Yeah,
it'll be like, oh, Jay, so you're one of the good ones. I saw what they were saying about Haitians. I saw your lunch today, like right there. It's right there. What'd you say? Like they get to that point by throwing the feeder ones out there to see how you respond. So this kind of seems like they may have been a tad bit out of their depth, because Schultz has been a racist troll for years at this point. And if you think that I'm lying, you can literally go to his YouTube, look at his highest viewed shorts, look at what the jokes consist of. They're all college humor, locker room, frat boy race jokes. That's it. Or what do they call it? Protected jokes against a protected class. If you know what that is, you know what I'm saying right there. So it's all of that. It's not really funny. He just thinks if I say some wild shit, it'll get a shock value laugh, and then I can keep stringing together enough of those to where when you leave this interaction, you remember, I was always laughing with him. He's funny. No, he's not. He's not. Go to a public high school in any urban city, anywhere. That's it. You'll find him there. But hey, that's my opinion.
Any final thoughts, Devin?
No, he pretty much covered it there. Like, I do feel like a lot of, because I know like some of his comedy acts and so on and so forth, and the first time he says a joke and everything, if you've never heard any of his stuff, you're like, oh wow, and you kind of laugh just because of how absurd it was there. And then once you get past like the first few, you're like, all right, what else you got? Anything? No, it's just race jokes. One or two, yeah, sure, just to kind of get a quick one in and get everyone like, oh wait a minute, it's fine to destabilize somebody, but then after that, you got to come up with better content, and that's all he works off of.
For me, he lacks subtlety and tact, and that's what I hate most. Like everyone's like to be 100% straight up, no BS. Like everyone's got a race joke here or there. It don't matter what comedian. It doesn't matter. Comic, comedian. Everyone's had one here or there. Like it's kind of ingrained in our society, but it's subtlety, nuance, and tact that really make a difference. That's why everyone got so upset at Dave Chappelle over the trans jokes. It's like a lot of them lacked tact, not subtlety, because Dave Chappelle's not really subtle, but it just seemed to lack a tact and like that underlying like the joke is this. I'm not making fun of y'all. I'm having fun with y'all. Like, and that's kind of where we are as a society. Like we're missing that subtlety and tact that comedians at a higher level need to have. Like, heck, back in the day in the mid 2000s, Cat Williams was letting them things fly, but it was always the second level of those jokes that were important, and that's what I think a lot of these people miss. Like, what's the white dude's name? George Carlin.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
Like,
he's funny.
yeah,
He's
but
funny.
he always has a race joke. It's usually around black people, but he also has this like because I think his wife is black, isn't she?
I'd have to.
I might be confusing. I might be confusing comics, but there's one comic that
You're
not
talking
not
about
George.
the bald white guy. I know who
Yeah,
you're talking about. Yeah,
yeah.
his wife is black. Yes, I know who
Not
you're
George.
talking.
Not George. My bad. It's a different guy. But yeah, and even the other white guy that got divorced from his wife like last year. He was on Club Shay Shay. But there are
Bill
some
Burr. Bill Burr. Is who
Bill Burr. Thank you,
Mm.
Bill. Yeah, Bill Burr. Yeah, has he like he's kind of tapped into the culture, but like respectfully. Like anytime he makes a joke, it's from personal, like actual knowledge, like from interactions he has with his wife or like things he observed by being around it. But like he comes from it from the angle of like, hey, I'm not this, but this is what I see, and I'm
yeah,
not making fun of y'all.
yeah,
Like if he made
Mm.
a joke about, hey, I don't know how to play spades, it's
right.
probably because he went to a cookout on his wife's side of the family and they all throwing down some cards that he's just like, hey man, I'm not trying to throw this. Like
Yeah,
he has this like actual life experience and subtlety about it instead of just slinging them out there. And I think that's kind of the nuance a lot of people these days are. That's what you need to have nowadays.
absolutely. And to go along with that, before you get us out of here, because we can talk about this for a while. I'll be honest. Bill Burr is great with that, with doing a variety of line stepping jokes because he's mastered his craft. Like I remember this joke that he had when he said he was like sitting down watching the news with his wife, um, and like a news story came on, and it was, long story short, it was about like the husband abusing his wife. Like I think he hit her or he killed her, something like that. And he's watching the news with it, and like the wife said something that provoked him to do something, and that's why the story was on TV. And he was sitting there with his wife, and he was like, "I know it's messed up, but what do you think was the last thing she said to him that really sent him over the edge?" And he thought it was funny. And she said, you can't joke about stuff like that. Da, 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 da. And she got mad. And then her mom came over, an older black woman, and they picked the story up because it's progressing. Like he's going to trial, da, da, da. So the news cycle comes back around, and he's there with her and her mom. And her mom sees the story come up, and she said, "You know what? I wonder what the last thing she said to him was that really set him off." And it was funny, mind you. There's a story about somebody getting is a victim of domestic violence. That's not
Mm.
supposed to be funny. But how we just wove that together like that is like, this is how you do stuff. Nobody's trying to police y'all. Nobody's trying to say you can't make certain jokes. We're saying stop doing bad shit. It's not good quality, I should say. This is
Mhm.
morally gray at this point. Be of good quality.
For me, it's not even just the quality, it's you're not acting in good faith. Like when you go to a
Mm,
comedy show or something, you're expected to be in a funny environment, so you're gonna let something slide because you're looking for the joke. But
mm,
like when you're just slinging, you know, terrible talking points about people, you're not acting in good faith. You're just saying crap. And that's this is why so many people are getting pissed off with Bill Maher now, the late night host,
yeah.
because like at some point he's not acting in good faith when he starts talking about certain things. So it's like one of my favorite comedians of this generation, Trevor Noah, he makes racially like based jokes all the time, but he always brings a nuance and a care, and he's just like, and it's nothing malicious. He's acting in good faith. He's just showing the differences between different cultures, and I
Mm,
think that's what this situation, to kind of bring it back to shits and gigs. I think that's the whole thing is even if you're a black guy that you find your preference in white women, that's your preference. But when you start acting in bad faith towards other women, especially black women, because you prefer white women, you're not acting in good faith anymore.
yeah.
I think one thing I want to add is that, uh, generally speaking, comedians are known for using jokes for social commentary. So when your jokes aren't necessarily commenting on society, or if you are commenting on a particular part of society that you believe to be true, and all your jokes are only, really racially charged jokes, that tells a lot about the person. And that also tells a lot about the people who are saying, yeah, you know what, I completely agree with that, because they're kind of agreeing with that social commentary there, or lack thereof.
Yeah.
So I just usually say that I have to be a little careful when it comes to this. Like, yes, you can laugh at, something like that because it's crazy, but also keep in mind, what the message is underneath the joke.
Yep.
Right.
And speaking of message, honestly, this next topic to kind of get us started, this is I know Caleb's waiting for this one, but honestly, another crazy thing that's happened this week. Diddy going to jail. P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, Brother Love, although he'd be giving too much love out.
Non-consensual,
Too much
non-requested.
non-consensual.
Look, he can't stop because he won't stop, and he won't stop because he can't stop.
Last night he really did have an answer. She definitely did not call back. But enough for the lyric destruction. But yeah, no, that man got denied bail twice. So for anyone who's been under a rock, P. Diddy got arrested for racketeering, drug possession, SA, because we're on YouTube, we're gonna say SA, but just look up the vernacular online. Trafficking, trafficking. Again, we're on YouTube, so I'm not trying to provoke nothing crazy, but trafficking of women and other charges. And this man is going to jail. He has been denied bail twice. I got a lot of things I want to say, but I'm gonna let kind of Caleb's roll this one a little bit. But all I'm gonna start with is I would never want to be that famous. No. Mm-mm.
All right.
Go ahead. Get us started.
So here's what happens when you spend a good 85% of your life being a freaking sicko. Period, point blank. There have been rumors going around about this man for 30 years. I have friends, I have family who've been in the entertainment industry for that long. They knew what was going on back then when a lot of this stuff was going on. There were rumors at the time that he was the reason that Pac got killed. People were saying back in the 90s, all the way up until the early 2000s, Diddy killed Pac because he was attracted to Pac and Pac wasn't rolling like that. That was an industry rumor across the board. And it's been there for that long. And they're like, he's an aggressively closeted bisexual man. That's been there for years.
So, real quick, to avoid legal issues, these are
Allegedly.
These are allegations. These are things that are coming out. This is what the streets have been saying for years. We, as the Just No BS podcast, do not believe in BS. So we're going to say allegedly because we don't got money. Do not sue us. Go ahead, continue.
This is all alleged. With that being said,
these are rumors.
These are rumors. Turns out, just by the release that was given, a lot of these rumors might be true. They might be
very high.
Mm-hmm. Because on top of what Jezo said, when it came down to the trafficking, the SA, all of that stuff, all of that, they're joking saying this isn't a RICO case, this is a FRICO case. They're burning this man. On top of everything else that he got charged with, this man had ghost guns in his house. For the normies who don't know what ghost guns are, it's when you have a gun, every gun is branded with a serial number that allows people to trace it, register it back to the original buyer or owner or whatnot. That way, if anything happens, they can be like, oh, Devin shot Jezo. Devin bought a gun 3.5 years ago because here's the serial number, matches up with the bullet casings, da-da-da-da. When you scratch that serial number off, that creates a ghost gun. You are at minimum doing 10 years if they catch you with a ghost gun. He had multiple in there. Bro, it's over. mind you, I'm into a lot of different things. I was on the astrology side of YouTube, and they were forecasting this 7 years ago. Shout out to the YouTube channel, Thought Crimes. Great people, beautiful people, love them to life. They were saying this 7 years ago. Hey, Diddy's gonna go down. And then what really sealed it was, again, I pay attention to everything. He got a tattoo of the Black Madonna on his back a couple of years ago. And the individuals who knew the people from Haiti were like, that's not good because she protects women and children. And you hurt women and children. This is going to karmically come back and hurt you, bro. They said it then. With that being said, I cry no tears for this man whatsoever. I do not feel bad for this man. You spent the better part of 50 years of your life being a menace to not only yourself, your family, your community, the greater tri-state area, the nation, and the world. You are a villain, my brother. And I got a quick list before I pass it on. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 people. 4 people. I'll be politically correct, Jason, when I describe what's happening. We got Faison. Fat Faison lie. Faison Love himself. He's defending Diddy in this. Hey, Faison, you remember that lawsuit that you were in because you were sending illicit messages to your former colleague? That's SA. Umar Johnson. You know how you're defending him right now? And you're stating that you don't stand with prostitution or anything else like that. You remember that time we caught you with that stripper who you were paying for sexual favors? Clocked you there as well. Charlemagne the God, you're defending this as well. Hey, you remember when you and your homeboys got together and essayed a 16-year-old girl by the name of Jessica Reed who's actively filing a lawsuit against you? Lastly, Lil Boosie, you're defending this as well, per usual. You remember that time when you hired prostitutes to essay your son for his birthday because you wanted to make sure that his virginity was gone by the time he left your house? And the fact that you're a murderer? Look at the people defending this man. Look at you. And look at what he did. Y'all are all going down. I want you to know.
Of all people, you should not be letting Little Boosie defend you. That's what I'm saying. That man.
That's when you hit the low.
I don't know if it was lean or some other concoction of illicit drugs, but that man looks like his brain is cooked. So I'm just.
And all of y'all got raccoon eyes. The blackening around your eyelids. Y'all some nefarious Negroes. That's what you are. And when they come knocking, because they are coming to knock, because Diddy thought he could get away with this for a while. He did. He actively did get away with it for a long time. But once it's your time to pay the devil his due, you're going to pay. Period, point blank.
You know what's crazy? Before I pass it to you, Deb, this is being handled by the Southern District of New York. If you know anything about cases being handled by them, that is federal court. It just happens that the Southern District of New York handles this stuff. These people will let you do your dirt for years, just getting every little crime. That car you thought was just an empty car, that was probably one of the feds just posted outside, just recording everything. Like, these little people that they will wait 10, 20 years just to make sure they get you. So,
yeah. You tried to kill Kid Cudi, bro. You tried to kill Kid Cudi. That's not a legend. They got you.
The fact that wasn't even a secret. That wasn't just known that Diddy blew up Kid Cudi's car. Like, how did that not get him arrested? Like,
right?
This is the stuff I'm just like, Devin, go ahead. I can't.
So when it comes to people who get really famous and so on and so forth, a lot of the times, not all, because there are some stars out there who, keep it clean and everything, keep it cool. But a lot of them start getting involved into different things, and it kind of slowly stacks up. So to kind of get to that point that Cal brought up there, when it's time to pay the devil his due, eventually it's going to catch back up to you. Eventually, whatever things you've been doing, you're either going to get to a point where someone's going to say, you know what, he's got to be the fall guy, or someone's going to find out about everything and everything's going to collapse on you.
Yep.
That said, I see this as an issue where a lot of people who get that initial high from becoming famous, like you get a lot of money out of nowhere, you get all this fame, all this attention, and so on and so forth. If you don't have anything to ground you and kind of bring you back down again, so then you can kind of come back up and down and have those nice things that most people experience throughout life, eventually you get to the point where that's your new norm. And then eventually you get to the point where you're looking for the next great high. And eventually you get to the point where the only things you can do to get to that high is something that's illegal. I was talking to a coworker of mine earlier this week. Back when I was a kid, a lot of my family used to work for Disney. I used to work for Disney. So growing up, I got to go to Disney like almost every other weekend. And it wasn't even because oh, hey, we're doing something special. It was because, oh, hey, mom's at work and we're waiting for mom and everything to go, to dinner or to get home and do whatever we're going to do. So for most kids, they're like, oh, hey, Disney is like that once in a lifetime thing. Me, that was the norm. So every time I go to Disney with friends, everyone else is like, oh, man, this is great. This is exciting. We never get to do this. Me, I'm just like, okay, this is like a Tuesday for me.
Yeah.
But you scale that up, for someone who is famous, they're going to have that same, you're going to have that same exact thought process of, oh, hey, this is the norm. Okay, what new thing can I do to kind of get that new excitement? And then it just kind of starts getting out of control. So I think that's what happened there.
Devin, to your point, there was a quote from a movie. I can't really remember it right now, but there was a gentleman who was talking about Marcus Aurelius. And they said that he had a servant that followed him around all the time. And while he was getting praise and adoration from the people and everything else like that, saying he was a godsend, he was God, he could rival God. This servant had one job. He would just stay behind him as he walked through these processionals, and he would whisper in his ear, "You're only a man." That's what the issue is with this. You guys, like a lot of these people seeking this fame, Jason, to your point, you said, I would never want to be this famous. I would like to escalate it and say, I would never like to be this morally bankrupt. Because all this does, money, power, fame, respect, all of this stuff, all it does is just reveal who you are. That's it. In the words of Kendrick, he's a freaky ass nigga. And it's a lot of freaky ass niggas in high places, as we've been seeing. There have been dozens of people who were softly tied to Diddy in high-ranking positions who have all been stepping down post his arrest. We were making jokes about TD Jakes being at one of the parties. TD Jakes stepped down from Potter's House Ministries, passed it over to his kid. All of these people are following suit. They're stepping down, passing it to their next of kin, trying to prepare for the blowback. The level of hubris in this arrest is staggering. Because if I was Diddy, once I saw that they released the tape on me beating up on Cassie, this is not, when things are recorded and documented, it's not alleged. You beat the hell out of Cassie, bro.
Yeah, that's not an allegation. We saw it.
We saw it. Once I saw, if I'm Diddy, if I saw them release that tape, them whisper about the lawsuit, bring me in, and then raid my home, I'm going to where Russell Simmons is at. I'm leaving. I'm first thing smoking out the country. I'm not playing with y'all. I'm going to a non-extradition place. Period. Point blank. Straight cash, Devin. Changing my name and everything.
That's if you're a person that's intentionally doing stuff intentionally bad and you know it. Let's just say this was a more morally gray situation and you were just trying to make yourself look good. The first step, that stupid apology video he dropped where he's talking about trying to get better, it's the stereotypical crap most people do. But at the very least, why isn't your place cleaned up? Apparently, according to some of these documents that have been dropping, they were supposed to arrest this man on like Monday.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen for like a day and a half. You know you're about to get arrested. Why is all the stuff in your house?
No. Devin, not Devin, Jason. He was originally supposed to be arrested the day after but they got whispers that he was trying to escape. They moved it up a day and came and got him.
Mm.
Why are you waiting?
Yeah.
Get out of here, bro. They're coming for y'all.
Again, if you're a terrible person, get out of Dodge. If you're trying to at least make yourself look good, even if it's nefarious, of course, whatever. At the bare minimum, why do you have all this stuff in your house?
Yeah.
My house would have smelled like, I don't know,
lavender.
Yeah, exactly. It would have smelled like some nice lavender incense. There would have been nothing. I would have been doing dishes when they came to get me. I'd have been like, "Oh, sorry, officer, hold on." Just like, you got to make yourself at least seemingly look good so that you can get at least people on your side. But like, you didn't do like that's
Nothing.
That's how I know you are going to jail, bro.
They walked in. I saw a police video because I heard the 1,000 bottles of baby oil and other lubricant. So I'm instantly on Twitter looking for like videos or whatever. My right hand to God, he can strike me dead right now if I'm lying. I saw the video. The police walk into a room that looks like a foyer. And for those who don't know, like a foyer is like when you walk into like a large mansion, how it's an open space that like you can walk down and see like the
staircases,
parallel staircases. There's like a table there, flowers, all that beautiful stuff. It looked like a foyer. From the top shelf to the bottom shelf, it was baby oil, not small travel-sized baby oils. Bro, this man is a cartoon villain, bro. Like, I don't know how to articulate this stuff for y'all because it's so obscene. It's so obscenely hedonistic what was going on in there. And you have other active lawsuits. Other active civil lawsuits. He just lost a civil lawsuit for $100 million to a nigga in prison. How do you lose $100 million? Because he was scared to show up to court because he was like, they're going to arrest me if I go in. So he just didn't show up. And the guy won $100 million off. Bro, they're going to fry you. And they're, lastly, before Jay, so I kick the ball back to you, they are subconsciously preparing y'all for him to die in prison. If you pay attention to the news headlines that have been coming out, they're like, oh yeah, this prison has a habit of breaking people. Da, 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 da. When they throw language out there, oh, this prison has a habit of breaking people. Diddy's actively fearing for his life, begging for release. He essentially is out here pinky promising the judge that if he allows him to get bail, he'll go home, take regular drug and alcohol tests. He won't allow women over, and only family members can come. It's over, bro. You allowed your son, after they raided his first house, his son put out a diss record to the federal government saying, oh, they raided the house, but they didn't know that we moved everything to the house next door because we bought that. That's what bad boys do. You said that to the government, bro?
That reminds me of the skit that Key and Peele did, where it was that exact same thing. It was like the whole track was just about, a murder, and it's like, oh, hey, you said on the track, it's like, no, that's just allegations. That's, just me talking, And then after the guy leaves, it's like, oh, hey, afterwards, this is going to happen, this right here. I'm like, that's the exact same thing.
Exact same thing.
That reminds me of the Caleb City video where like the Fed is hiding in the office and the guy's like, yeah, when I find the feds, I'm going to kill them. I'm going to do this. I'm like, bro.
Stop. Just stop. And while we're on this topic, before you wrap this up, because I could talk about this for a while, because it's this man, I knew he was going to prison when they released Shine. For those that don't really know hip hop that well, or like hip hop history and everything else like that, I'm a nerd. If I find interest in something, I'm gonna dive down the rabbit hole. Years ago, in the 90s, if I remember correctly, when Diddy and J-Lo were together, they went Diddy, J-Lo, and burgeoning rapper at the time, or budding rapper at the time, named Shine, was with Diddy, and they're going to a club. J-Lo snuck a gun in for Diddy because, y'all know the rules. You're outside, you let the woman carry the gun, she gets a lesser charge, she's a woman with no priors, that whole thing. She sneaks the gun in for Diddy. There's an altercation in the club. A black woman gets shot in the face. Everybody's like, hey, we saw Diddy do it. This is all recorded. First-hand testimonies directly from the woman afterwards, because at the time Diddy was like king of New York. People were scared of him. So she said, like, I think it was Shine who did it. I can't really remember. And then afterwards, once he started losing steam, she's like, Diddy did it. He did it. I swear to God, he did it. I was scared of him at the time, blah, blah, blah. So Shine was sitting in prison because he took the charge. That's just how hip hop culture is. The bigger guy gets to do what he wants. Underlings take the charge. We take care of your family. We take care of you when you get out. So he's sitting in prison for a while. I think it was like aggravated assault with a deadly weapon in a public place, and you can't have guns in New York either.
Not without some serious paperwork.
Yeah, not without, bro. You need clearance to just walk around with guns in New York. So Shine is just rotting in prison for the better part of his life. And the government goes and starts pulling strings, and the next thing we know, we see Shine out of prison. And Shine's like, I'm so happy. I'd like to thank the government. I'd like to thank thoughts and prayers to everybody.
Intel.
And I'm like, they're gonna get him. Because that man is telling. You let him rot in prison, bro? After they say you're a billionaire. I'm very about hip hop billionaires. Y'all gotta show me like pay stubs and everything. I don't trust
it. See them 7 lines, bro.
Yeah.
Let me see your tax return.
Yeah, I don't trust that. So when he came out, it was like, that man is going down. Shine hasn't been out for a year, y'all. He's been doing interviews, talking to people, speaking with the government, not like informing, but like speaking with government officials, things like that, doing public outings. He's a well-refined, well-adjusted man in society, wearing tailored suits, looking like a Belize Obama. That's what he's looking like now. It's like, they're going to get you, bro. They're going to get you, bro. And sure enough, it happened. Last bar, Drake, you're next. They just got your girl. They just grabbed one of Drake's homegirls in Canada on a human trafficking sting. They got your girl. Like, oh, keep playing.
I'm gonna double down on that last part and say allegedly. Once again, we got no lawyers. We don't.
Yep. My bad.
We don't work for the government. I got no lawyers. We got no money. These are just the streets is talking. But
streets is loud. Yeah.
But that's the thing. It's a classic quote. But like, where there's smoke, there's fire. Little things keep adding up. Especially once it's something where like the government starts looking at you like. That's when it's like, hey, it's not like it's a state government. It's not like, oh, the state of New York saw you do something. No, when the federal government, the FBI, 3-letter organizations come for you,
get up out of there. If you know what's good for you, get up out of there, bro.
Because it's gonna be the FBI, the NSA, another 3-letter, the ATF.
Look, the only other thing scarier than all of those is the IRS.
That's a fact.
They probably in there too. The DEA, all of them are just talking at this point. They'd be like, "Yo, we got this. Oh yeah, we heard about that. Here you go." Like, that man is going to jail.
What
allegedly?
Let's do over-unders. I'm not a gambler, but I'm a gambler. If you know what I mean, I'll gamble.
All right, we're gonna call this section to quote Riley from the Boondocks, you gonna pay what you owe. All right, what's the over-under on this one?
Because, mind you, we're coming off the heels of Cosby and R. Kelly. We're coming off the heels of the Me Too movement.
They throwing a book at this man.
That's what I'm saying. Which, again, if it's me, if I'm Diddy, and I see the Me Too movement moving how it was moving, I would have, y'all got it. They're going to give this man probably 45 years. Probably 45 years.
So he's currently what, like 54? He's 50 something.
Yeah.
I could see it. I will say I agree with you. It's probably over 40. Now, once we find out what all the evidence they got is, because I have a feeling there's an unaliving in there somewhere.
Mhm.
And I again, I don't know, but just given once you hear the word racketeering, that usually means there's some violence in there
Yeah,
somewhere, even
that's
if
all.
it doesn't necessarily mean it. But I hear racketeering, there's some assaults or something in there. And yeah, I agree with you. It's probably over
Yeah,
40. I'm
Jason, to
going
your
over
point,
40.
to not leave you in suspended belief, there was a situation to where it's going to come out in the case, but him and his son took a man in the bathroom, tried to sexually assault him allegedly, and then they shot him in the stomach, and then walked out, went back to the studio, and kept their recording session going. Bro, they're gonna burn you, bro. Just a little incidental stuff, like that's incidental in the larger scope of things, because he was operating like they were operating like this for like 30 years at this point. Bro, get comfortable. I don't know what else to tell you, my nigga. Like, because you ain't coming back out here. You won't be seen in the land of living with us. Just get comfortable in there, bro. Get comfortable. Because what did they give R. Kelly? Like 30
Something like
something?
that. Yeah. I don't even want to honestly, once that man got verified he's going to be in jail for over 20 years, I purged the rest of it from my memory because that is not a good indication of culture. Any final thoughts? I've
That's not an indication.
purged.
So I'm gonna go in the opposite direction. I feel like he's going to somehow dodge some of the charges. I hope that that doesn't happen, but I have a feeling that he's going to somehow dodge it. He's going to be sub 30. However, with that, I do feel that if he does go in jail, I don't think he's coming back out.
That's fair.
That's all I'm saying on that one. If
Disclaimer here on the Just No BS podcast: we do not wish harm on anybody.
I
People that deserve it. However, it's not looking good.
yeah, let's put
He
it that way.
he knows too much. Allegedly, allegedly, allegedly. We saw what happened to Epstein. Let's go to the next topic, James.
That's all I'm saying right there.
Fact. See, and this is one example of how we give some people too much power in the terms of the culture. No offense, with all these allegations that he's had and all these rumors and speculation over the years, we've let this man decide so much of what, let's face it, black media and culture looks like. So, like, I'm going to go ahead and switch us to, I finally have a name for this section. We're going to call this the three body breakdown. Essentially, this is going to be our main topic for our show. And again, speaking on terms of the Diddy thing, we've given this man too much power to decide what culture is for us. So I kind of want to talk about defining the culture. First of all, why do we give not just celebrities, but like we give these weirdos a lot of culture play? Like, and I'm not just talking about people like Diddy. I'm talking about people like DJ Vlad, Joe Budden, Andrew Schultz, Charlamagne the God. Just why do we let these people decide this? Oh, and we have these weirdo people that call themselves gamers, like incels, whatever, but they can sit in the corner. We're talking about black people today. With the exception of it, well, Andrew Schultz ain't black, but we're talking about black culture. Let me rephrase that real quick. I'm not giving y'all the wrong idea here, but why do we let these people define black culture? Like, who made Joe Budden of all people like this like guru of black music? Like, we'll start there. Like, why does he get to tell us what good music or black culture and music should be? Like, I never understood it. The man yells too much for me. I tried watching an episode a long time ago and I was like, nah, I can't do this. But like, why?
I'll
I
be
don't get
honest
it.
with Joe Budden. It's very it's not immediately cut and dry, but once you understand the nuances of it, you can understand why. This Joe Budden that you're seeing now, we're talking post Rory and Maul, all of that. Joe Budden was like an underground guy, a backpacking guy, a heavy on lyricism. He loved and cared about the art form. That's why his music career had the trajectory that it did. at the time. Joe Budden is one of the most battle-tested rappers of all time. He had back and forth with everyone from all spectrums, from Jay-Z literally to Drake. Literally. Like this man transcended generations. He put out his mood music series was excellent. Even some of the later projects that he put out in his older age, because people love to regurgitate the idiom that rap is a young man's sport. He showed that he got better as he got older. Once he started getting off the drugs, started getting off the alcohol, stopped engaging so much in the hedonistic activities, but not necessarily as much because he was also at the Diddy parties recently. Be careful, Joe. Be very, very careful. But with that said, even he was one of the first rappers who found the worth in developing a social media presence. He was one of the earliest hip hop people who were on YouTube. You can go back and find beardless Drake being interviewed by Joe Budden and Drake singing his praises. You can go back and find freshly signed to Young Money Nicki Minaj interviews with Joe Budden because he was just out there like that. He was also a part of Slaughterhouse, which was essentially like a super group of just MCs who were under Eminem.
Yep.
So it's like the credentials are there, Jay-Z. Don't get it wrong. And the Joe Budden that you see now is not even the same Joe Budden that you saw on Everyday Struggle with Academics, another person that you reference. His album, ironically enough, was called Rage Against the Machine at the latter part of his career. Joe spent a career raging against the machine. Period.
Okay.
He was at every major hip hop label for the most part that you could be at, being from the East Coast in their peak. He was under people like L.A. Reid and everything else like that. And he was giving you an insider look like, hey, this isn't what it seems. A lot of these people, they're spending the most amount of money that they can when it comes to their fronting, like the front end of their signing. And that's how they get you in debt. Once you're in debt, the label has you by the neck. Then you're giving them records and albums for the most part of your career to just get back to the debt because of compound interest. Make sure that you actually hire an entertainment. He was giving great advice. Hire an entertainment lawyer to read your music industry contract because lawyers aren't, you see what I'm saying? Just lawyers everywhere.
Facts.
If you give a music contract or a movie contract or any type of creation contract to a divorce attorney, it's Greek to them. They don't understand. You see what I'm saying? So he did that. He built up the following being organic, and then he got access to that third room. We'll talk about that third room later. He got access to that third room and was like, I'm sick of being broke and authentic. I can scale this back to get some money. Especially if the people I'm raging against have no problem paying me promoting what they need to be promoted.
So what you're saying is he started off legit, but then he took his knowledge and access and became more of a grifter. Like he's...
Oh, absolutely. And to answer your question about why some of these weirdos play a large part in the culture and things like that, money and power is the only currency that matters to the morally bankrupt. So you have a lot of people who lack discernment. They lack their own understanding. They lack their own taste. So they seek out others to tell them what's true, what's authentic, what's good art that should be appreciated. Now, when you compromise the people that tell you what that is, you don't even need to do psyops on the people below them whatsoever. The kingmakers at that point. The game's over, bro. With that being said, Joe Budden used to be like that. He used to be the everyman's artist. You see what I'm saying? And that ties directly into the Kendrick and Drake thing. Like that is the difference when you look at it. One person was literally developing a response from a humanistic perspective. The other person was actively soft launching voice cloning technology of dead artists.
Without permission from their... Yep.
You see what I'm saying? It's a level of like, and Devin can tell you, and we're talking about D&D later on within the show, but there's a difference between a cleric, a paladin, and a necromancer. The cleric and paladin can revive you, The necromancer would deal with whatever's left and bring that to their assistance.
Mm-hmm.
This is the difference that you're looking at. And I understand that I read very deeply into things. It's because I study deeply into things. When Kendrick had Tupac being interviewed on his album and he was responding to Tupac, that was a living interview that Tupac did.
Yep. He's referencing a Pimp to Butterfly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I
he's
remember
paying
that track.
homage to Pac. And then even so much so at the end of the album, when I cried, I'm not too much of a to say that I cried. When Pac stopped responding to him. And he was like, Pac. And he was looking at Pac. Pac. And that's where Pac left us. That's different from essentially cannibalizing the art form that made you. If you think that I'm lying, I don't care. This is truth. And truths are like vegetables and medicine. You don't like tasting them oftentimes straight, but you need the motherfuckers. That's what this is, bro.
Yeah, and like when I think about it in terms of like defining the culture, which is essentially black culture, like it to me it makes me realize that unfortunately we're too easily attracted to the grift. Like obviously anyone can be attracted to the grift. I'm not trying to make this like a versus thing. I'm just saying as a black man living in the culture, it's too easy for somebody's influencers, not the right word, but these like kingmakers, like you put them, like it's too easy for them to be attracted to the grift, and then that's all they're looking for, that money, that influence, that power. Like
Why do you think that is?
honestly, the way I see it, it's to now this is where I'm gonna get racial. It's to make yourself feel like you're on that same racial plane as white people, to keep it simple. It's like being able to do the grift and giving yourself some kind of elevation. It's why black cops are essentially just cops for the most part. Again, not all cops are bad, but at the same time, y'all, the numbers don't look good. But like it's that influence, that power that like you give yourself some kind of, hey, look at me, I'm at this status, I'm just as good as you, so we should be equal. But then you've just essentially pushed everyone to the back. So like in turn, that makes us too attached to the grift. That's why one of the phrases, like, I used to love the Cat Williams joke, but the more I think of it as an adult, that constantly hustle grind mentality seems to affect us as a culture way too easily.
Mm, mm.
And that's the way I see it. Like, I think, unfortunately, just getting that influence, and getting the influence is not bad. I'm not saying that. It's just, it's too easy to get corrupted by it. And I think that's the issue we as a, and I'm going to monolith us as black people because it just seems to happen way too easily. As a monolith, it just seems to attract black people way too easily. Like, what?
I mean, it attracts everybody. And I'd follow up with you and say that it's a weird thing that happens when you're a person of color in the country as to where you were looking to be recognized, period. Everyone's looking to be recognized. Um, Even so much so, like I saw people debating online about like black men and their part in patriarchy. Um, and it's like, I'm not mad at that read when it comes to modern day society, but you have to realize in the inception of patriarchy, black men weren't even recognized as men. They called us
Mm,
boys.
Mm-hmm.
yep.
It would be a motherfucker late in their 40s and 50s, and they would walk up to your granddad, Dev, at 40 and 50 years old and call him a boy. It's been recorded by historians and documentarians that the only place that a black man could actually feel like a black man, a respected black man, was as a police officer or being in the armed forces. Because it's not necessarily that people respect you as a black man, they respect you as a representative of the state,
Mm-hmm.
which is mind boggling but very understandable. Because the same thing happened to the Asians. The Asians just recently were against affirmative action. Oh, they were up in arms. Why are all these colored people getting into these higher universities? We're going to stand with the racist white people, remove affirmative action. They removed affirmative action. Everybody's numbers more or less stayed the same except for Asians. They plummeted.
Yep. Because
This is what they do to you.
Yeah, because and that's the. This is my coined term for the episode. That's the grift. Like they is such an actless term. I hate using they because it dodges the actual issue. But like the issue is not the fact that affirmative action was in place. It was that we as minority communities have to work together. We have to uplift all of us. We can't push one down to step up. It should be hey, I'm gonna boost you, and then when you get over, pull me with you. Like that's the point. So that's why, like, all of these. Now I'm gonna segue into Andrew Schultz because I hate that dude. But this is why I hate people like Andrew Schultz, like these grifters that just use race baiting and hide it as a joke to deflect from the actual issue.
Yep.
Like
they're effectively punching down.
Yeah, not even punching down. You're literally like taking like hydraulic press and forming and disforming the car and making it worse. Like,
yep. And I don't like the term punching down either. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not trying to correct you or police your language whatsoever. I just don't like that term punching down because it's like, okay, cool. Andrew Schultz is talking about black women. We call that punching down. You put a real black woman whose background is in comedy as well in front of him and they have a roast off, she's frying this weird nigga.
Oh yeah, I would love this.
So when I say punching down, I mean in the sense of like punching down at someone who is not in your particular field and assuming that they're not going to be able to respond at that same level as well. So to your point there, like if he's talking to a black woman who's also a comedian as well, yes, no, absolutely, you're going to completely destroy it. If we're talking about a black woman who isn't in that particular field and isn't specialized in that, then he's expecting that they're not going to be able to respond and he'll be able to get away with it. So that's kind of what I mean with that. But I do see your point.
Yeah, respect. No, that wasn't to poo-poo on you or anything. That's just my like disdain with that because it's like, bro, you put a black man who's what's my man's name? Eddie Griffin. Put Eddie Griffin next to Andrew Schultz. Let him do some racist ass jokes and see what happens.
True.
God bless the dead. If Bernie Mac was still alive, put Bernie Mac.
It'd be over.
God bless the dead. If Mooney was still alive, put Mooney next to Andrew Schultz. Let Andrew Schultz say some bullshit. See what happens. It's not punching down.
A young Eddie Murphy, like the young Eddie Murphy.
It'd be over.
Yeah.
Like, I was thinking there's one black lady like I was thinking about comedian. She would have fried him. I keep thinking Amber Ruffin, but it's not her. She was on she was on Blackish, but she was like the boss that took over after he sold half the business. I always forget her name. I don't know why, but I'm blanking on it.
Thank you, Devin.
Yeah, I'm gonna look this up because it's gonna bug me. Even Jennifer Lewis would fry him, but that's not who I'm thinking of either.
Even what's the young freaky or the older freaky light skin one? I think her name is like Linnell. She has like a low cut. And she's
yeah. I think that's Linnell. Yeah. But no, I was thinking of Wanda Sykes. Wanda Sykes would have fried him.
Yeah.
Like. But yeah, no, you're thinking of Lunel, the light skin with the low cut with the that's
you
Lunel.
Put her up there. Let's see what happens. I want to see what. No, let's laugh, let's joke. Hee hee ha ha. Black women beat up on black. Sure, let's do that. When we actually look at because y'all like to do this. Black people don't really give a fuck about this, but y'all like to do the per capita stats. The per capita stats. They're big. They're some of the biggest stats. It's ever big. Let's look at the per capita stats when it comes down to domestic violence between races. Let's do that.
You know what's crazy to me too? It's basic logic. Black people make 12 to 13% of the people in the USA. And you want to tell us we have the highest SA stats?
Okay, cool.
That logically doesn't even make sense.
No,
Which is also why, logically, the fact that most jails are filled with, like, what, 70% black people?
Mm-hmm.
Get out of here. Like, there's some stuff like, people like to use the whole numbers don't lie crap to defend themselves, but that's not true. One of the very first things you learn in statistics, if you take in any statistics class, is that statistics are only representative of the people that report them. They can be very manipulated, and you have to be careful when you use the statistic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
don't get me wrong. It's still a piece of the puzzle, but
it's not the whole picture. That's why, like,
Context matters.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I wouldn't deem myself a pretentious person, but in practice, I am a pretentious person when it comes to intelligent or intellectual debates and things like that, because words mean things. So when people say like men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie, numbers can lie very easily because it depends on how you categorize, record, and interpret data. Period. It does.
yeah.
So when you say things like, "Oh, black men aren't in the household, they're not raising their kids," y'all are still trying to do jokes from the '90s. We perform better than the majority of y'all when it comes to that.
And ironically, the
See,
numbers there are just so manipulated now. Like, ironically enough,
Mhm.
I think it was like a 2018 study. It was something I was reading not even too long ago, but like they found out that more often than not, like we were just on par or even better than most other scenarios. Like that that whole conception that black men do not take care of their families or not part of their family units, that really needs to die somewhere because it is becoming factually, well, not even becoming, it is just factually untrue.
Yeah, it is.
mm-hmm.
It is. Especially with, again, bro, I'm one of five. One of five. If a nigga was gonna run away from anything, it would have been that. And he's there. I can call my dad right now. You see what I'm saying? Like, this is wrong. And this is what, like, this is the part of the culture that when I talk about the culture, obviously it's exclusively African American experience, as we saw with the Shxtsngigs podcast. This is exclusively Black American. So when we talk about the culture, we are America's biggest export. I don't care what the GDP tells you, it's us, it's our culture. Over in Asia, you got people buying fake cornrows and fake locks, fake grills, taking breakdancing classes, trying to learn how to mix and master using FL Studios in 2024.
Hey, I'm not gonna front. Some of the stuff be good and they know what they're doing, but that leads me to ask a question. Before I ask this question, did you have anything you wanted to say, Devin?
No, go ahead.
So that actually leads me to a very good question. I was gonna kind of sprinkle this in later, but this is kind of one of the things I want to talk about. Like you said, our culture is it's America's biggest import. Our music industry is the number one music industry in the world, followed by, ironically enough, Korean. I believe it's Korea and Japan are like 2 and 3 in terms of like music entertainment. And ironically enough, when you look at their music, it is very similar to
American black music. Literally, the guy who spearheaded K-pop literally was out here watching people like James Brown and shit like that. He was also watching Elvis. He's a prolific essay offender as well. Ironically enough, absolute power corrupts all. But
that's
that
why
is
the idol industry in Japan is a not double-edged sword, but it's dangerous. Like they had to really crack down on that stuff because they run them like boy bands, but like a lot of those men be trading them girls, and they've had to start cracking down on it because a lot of SA was going on. But
Hmm.
like, I mean, you can go down the list. You can talk about like New Jeans out of, I believe they're out of Korea. Like any girl band, idol group,
Mhm.
BTS, all of them. It's, I mean, we built that culture.
We
Like,
did. There's a reason that their R&B sounds like our R&B from the 90s. Their current R&B sounds like our R&B from the 90s.
Hmm.
yeah,
We know. We know it's like that. And this is the beautiful thing about like when it's actual culture, when it's actual black people who are aware, who are knowledgeable, who are commentating on these things, who are giving you access beyond what an artist would give you. That's the beautiful thing. That's why I have no problem watching somebody like What's the Dirt be thoroughly evicted from the culture. Because you came in giving us interpretations of the songs within the rap beef. And then you're out here calling Kendrick a liar. You were talking crazy on him. Like, mind you, I rock with Kendrick heavy. But what you're not going to do is give us a 2 hour breakdown of one of the most basic records in the back and forth. This white man had the audacity to say, Drake said nigga 37 times within his diss record to Kendrick because he's 37 years old.
okay.
That was your grand research. That was your great plan. And then he got mad at people responding to it and was like, there's a lot of reaches in your interpretation, blah, blah, blah. Like, that was a stupid point that you just made about 37 to 37, blah, blah, blah. He's like, I'm done. I'm done with this. We don't want you here anyway. The reason DJ Vlad is still actually able to operate is because he trolled and incited Rick Ross to actually assault him, and he won a lawsuit, like a six-figure lawsuit. So he was able to update his camera equipment and everything else like that. And instead of black entertainers and musicians going to like people that I said earlier, like Thought Crimes or FD Signifier or Dead in Hip Hop or so on and so forth and giving interviews, y'all are going to a government asset. And it's funny because nobody thinks he's a government asset, but a lot of the young guys who go there and they talk about the murders that they did a couple of years ago, the guns that they got through here to do this to that person. These people all go to prison after Vlad interviews.
Hmm.
All
Something
of
smells
them.
fishy.
All of
Yeah,
them.
that's a little suspect there.
With that being said, if you view these people as legitimate platforms, if you view the Breakfast Club as a legitimate platform as a black person, you either don't know or don't care about your livelihood or the state of our culture, which has been studied ad nauseum, but needs to be preserved as well. You don't
See,
care.
my thing is, at least when it comes to the Breakfast Club, the early Breakfast Club, I was never a fan because I'm just like, all y'all are doing is inciting negativity within all these artists. Like the fact that within like what was it like a year you had Birdman, Soldier Boy, and Nelly trying to come for y'all next, but it's like, can we just talk about like the projects you're doing to help people, or like what this album means to you in this part of your life, like actual music instead of just trying to like troll people in their face. So like I don't know, but like it's also the same thought process as it's such a weird juxtaposition because these same people will be like, oh, I'm for the culture, but then like they'll diss other cultures for trying to infuse some of our culture, and that in and of itself is not. I've been talking about grifters a lot this episode, but like I don't consider like K-pop, J-pop, a lot of stuff grifting because like they're not fundamentally acting like they own it. They're just performing an art that
Spinning it
they've
off.
learned that
Yeah.
they've learned from another culture.
Spinning it
Hmm.
off. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
and
don't
kind of added their own flavor to it.
I don't mind Japanese individuals. I don't mind Chinese individuals. I don't mind Korean individuals. It's just when they start talking shit about black people, Calm down. We gave you the sauce. Say thank you, bitch. Like that's where mine again. This is Cal. This isn't Jazo. This isn't Devin. Say thank you, bitch. Because at the end of the day, what are you left with if you take us out the equation? The Beatles, who stole from black people, Elvis,
Nah,
who stole from black people, Katy Perry, who stole from black people and actively uses black producers. Like, what are you, when we start to go through the gauntlet of this, we move the world, period. So I'm not here to argue with any detractor or any weird Andrew Schultz person or supporter. This creative thing is a labor to y'all. To us, it's a labor of love
and
because we have
struggle.
to deal with y'all. There's the difference. We love this shit. Period, point blank. Whatever, going to white space and step on what white people have done and have, no, I wouldn't. But us being black American men, we have a minor degree in white shit because
And
y'all
struggle.
force it on everybody. Don't ask us why we code switch. Y'all kill us if we don't. You don't employ us if we don't. You systematically eliminate us from every type of rich avenue possible if we don't.
Yeah, and
My bad there. My bad, Jazo. My bad.
You're
yeah,
good.
no, you're good. And this is kind of the point. Like when I go back to the kind of purpose of this episode, when we talk about defining the culture, defining the culture. When we think about money, power, and influence, like we see that it just, for the most part, unfortunately, it breeds a lot of negativity. You have to be really stable and like have a good group around you to keep you on the morning. Like, nah, don't do that. You even if it's as simple as don't do that, you're gonna mess up the bag.
Yeah.
You got to have people who can tell you that to keep you in check. This is why people like John Morant, the basketball player, get in trouble because like your support group isn't strong enough to be like, "What are you doing? Stop." And I'm personally not a gun guy, but heck, I believe that you know what, if you want to carry your piece to keep you safe, all right, as long as you do it responsibly and you're not just whipping it out, so be it. You know, but this kid going around just waving around, and now he's a kid, so you know, at 19, who didn't do stupid stuff? That's not my point. My point is, you should have that one dude keep you like, nah, bro, hold up, don't turn the camera off. Even if he had just said, I don't care about the gun, turn the camera off. I bet. This
Where's
is
the
what I mean.
friend who does that?
Yeah, this is why I'm saying this should be defining the culture. NBA Finals. I'm gonna use this as another point. Luka Doncic, when they won the Western Conference Finals, getting ready to go into the finals, he you see him in the hallway with a beer. He's about to pop it open. The black man takes it from him real slick and just like, nah, man, you gotta go because they still have a mission. They still have to try to go win the finals.
Yep.
And he's like, nah, we can't have nothing happening right now. We still got at least 7 games to play. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so it's like, this is some of the things I think we should define the culture. What I mean, we should define our culture. Like, I don't want to say gatekeep some of it because that's not true. We live in. For me, I don't necessarily say we got to gatekeep it, but what I got to say is we got to protect it. Like, yeah, we just have to do a better job protecting it. We shouldn't be letting people like DJ Vladd tell us what is us. Like, even if he was, let's say he was one of those cool white guys, like, I don't know, pick one, but let's say he was one of those cool white guys who don't step out of his lane and he's just talking to people. And he's just like, yeah, man, you know, tell me about something. And they're just talking. It's like, okay, cool. You know, he's respecting the space, be like, hey, look, I don't understand it, but I'm not going to act like I do.
Right.
DJ Vladd, Andrew Schultz, these people just act like they know better than us and they like want to tell us what's better for us. And I'm like, no. Like, I forget who he was talking to Shxtsngigs when he was trying to get them to say that Taylor Swift was better looking than Meg the Stallion or whatever. When they said Meg the Stallion was, I'm just like, what?
No, they did that shit before. That's why I misunderstood you.
Yeah.
No, Andrew Schultz and them were the people who said um, Taylor Swift was bigger and better than Beyonce, and it was like, who? And there's a black man there on cast. Hey, bitch ass nigga, wake up! What? What did he just say? This bitch writing High School Musical type anthems to the neighbor next door, and y'all push it forward because it's Taylor Swift. Come on now, bro.
Yeah.
Come on now, bro. This woman has many layers and levels in her career. I'm not even what do they call it? Uh
Beehive, Swifty,
Beehive.
which one?
I'm not even Beehive. I just look and respect the handle. She's been doing it for 30 years. 30 years. She came in as a group doing things,
Mm-hmm.
and she's still relevant now. Not even relevant. She's one of the highest grossing touring artists ever.
Started with Destiny's Child, made it all the way by herself from there.
By
Yeah.
yourself. And I'm a man who loves Sade. Sade, hey. Hey, how you doing? I'm here with my niggas. Sade, I love you. I love the way hair slick back. I love the way that shit goes into C major. I love all that shit. Mm-hmm. Let me take you out. Tacos, maybe? Something like that. But anyway, with that being said, you have people like this walking around. You have the princes of the world walking around. You have the Weeknd walking around. You have Bruno Mars walking around. You have a bunch of people where it comes down to quality performances. And then look at her. We're not shitting on Taylor Swift here, but it's like, sweetheart, there's levels to this. You just don't jump the line and supersede Beyonce.
So this is. Were you gonna say something, Devin?
So I just wanted to say one last thing when it comes to people who kind of uh, try to dictate what the culture is or try to influence the culture. That I feel like they do need to make sure that they're being honest with their audience because they're going to accept what they say as the truth and what it is. The reason why I bring that up is I'm not going to call out what podcast this is, but I saw the disclaimer at the very beginning that says the thoughts, views, and opinions expressed by the host of this podcast are for entertainment purposes only. I repeat, it is not serious. It is not real. None of it. No one is exposing, revealing, indicating, or telling you anything about themselves. Also, we do not encourage you to try this at home. We are trained professionals who do not have your best interests at heart or our own. If you look at any of like the, quick minute clips and stuff like that, you're not going to get that message. So people see that and then they're immediately going to take that as, oh, hey, this is what I'm supposed to think. This is what it actually is, when that message right there tells it all. Like, come on, you gotta make sure that what you're saying throughout is what you really mean.
One
Yeah,
would
and
almost think that they stole that from somewhere
mhm.
and used it as comedic relief. I'm not going to say where
Mm.
they stole it from. I know exactly who they stole it from.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and no, I agree, and that's the thing. Like, we also live in this generation, time, era, whatever word you want to use, where the quick clips are entertaining and fun, and they're easy to cycle through, and people churn and burn through them. Whether it's TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Instagram, whatever, it's easy to churn and burn through those things to the point where like the context for some of the stuff gets missing so quick, and it's
Mm.
getting to a point where it's like, do you really, should you take these people at their word? How do you know they weren't just joking? How do you know they were being serious? What is real about this person? What do their actions actually show you is real? And this is why from the jump I've never been a fan of so many of these people. Like, I used to watch, like, there was a period for the Breakfast Club where I would watch them pretty much every day because I was like, okay, I think they're turning the page and becoming people, like they're being legit. But then for me, there was a point where like I could tell. Basically, it was right before Angela Yee left. So I'm just like, I see what we're doing again. You're basically doubling down. I don't know if you're losing viewership. Maybe you're just you can't have real conversations. I don't know, but like it's like this era right before she left. I'm just like, nah, you're doing the same thing again, but you're now glossing. You're putting a new coat of paint on it and trying to repackage it. Nah, no. So it's like I don't like pushing negativity. I understand sometimes you got to talk about it, but like when these shows, podcasts, whatever, when you're just trying to push negativity, I don't. We shouldn't be letting it define our culture, and that's my problem.
I agree.
With some of the stuff,
I agree.
like, and this is why when so many people, I was going to talk about this more, but I'm looking at the amount of time we've been here, and I'm just like, bro.
Yeah. Jazo,
I'm like,
last before you transition, I don't think observation of actions and critique in light of that observation is negativity. And that's where people also get confused about this whole cultural debate. If I see you a fuck nigga and I tell you that you're a fuck nigga in light of circumstantial evidence, I'm not challenging you. I'm not debating you. I am telling you. That's on your jacket. Because black people will be very quick to be like, hey, stay away from so and so because of XYZ. That's discernment. You may not like discernment because you lack discernment, but that's not my problem. Period.
yeah,
Period.
you're not
Swear
wrong.
to God on my soul. My grandmother as well as my mother, up there, south side of Chicago, 75th. They were like, R. Kelly's a pedophile. Early, first quarter. When I was born. He's a pedophile. He hangs out at McDonald's and he looks for little girls. I didn't need FBI to tell me that. That's right there. And then sure enough, when he got arrested, one of the things that they referenced was just that. Bro, I don't need you to show me the gun to tell me that a nigga has a gun in the house. If I trust you, you've done enough to warrant my trust. If you tell me something true, I'm gonna believe it. Respectfully, that's it. I'm gonna take myself off camera for a second because I realized I made a setup mistake. I'll be right back, Jay. So go ahead.
Oh no, you could. But at the end of the day, like, I think what this whole conversation, and we could probably go on for much more hours. You could stop. You could probably agree with me, Devin. But like, when people just blatantly say the culture and try to use it as a blanket term to discuss anything about Black culture, we need to do a better job as a community to protect that. Is what I think this all comes down to. It doesn't mean we can't share it. It doesn't mean we can't like mix and match and learn from other cultures. It doesn't mean we got to be like some monolithic single thought hive mind. But like we have to do a better job of protecting each other when it doesn't look like we are. Like, who knows? Maybe if someone, again, some people are just inherently evil. Disclaimer: this is not always, you can't always protect people from themselves. But maybe in the past, if someone had, who knows, checked Diddy once and been like, "Hey, yo, that ain't cool. Stop that. I don't care how much money you got. I will bust you right now." Like, maybe someone had checked them. Who knows? We might be having a different conversation. Again, some people are inherently evil. Some people are not. I will not. I will not make an exact observation without knowing a person. But from the outside looking in, it's not looking good. It looks like this man has gone unchecked for 35 plus years.
I think that we could potentially do a better job at a lot as a group doing more introspection and a little bit more self-auditing, as a group. If we see that there is a certain actor in that is part of the group that is not acting in the best interest of the group, we should do more to say something about it and do something about it. If it means like, oh, hey, if I see, R. Kelly's out there doing some really weird stuff, we shouldn't be like, you know what, let's turn a blind eye at the moment. We should be like, no, let's
Hey, that
stop
new
this before it
single's
gets worse.
popping. Let him do whatever. No!
Right. We need to, nip it right there. And Cal's got something right there.
people have. This is what I'm saying. Like the rumors have been there for a long time. There are individuals. Um, Jaguar Wright is one of them. Right?
Mm-hmm.
This woman is stone cold crazy. She is.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's actively in jail right now for some weird shit. She like threw her kids' ashes on herself and everything. Like, but she was there early on because she sang on one of the songs for Jay-Z, and she was like, "Hey, what you're doing to people is bad, and it's
Mm-hmm.
hurting people." And that, and she said this to Diddy. She also said this to Jay-Z. Jay-Z, square up, fly right from now on, because if you don't, I'm not even gonna say allegedly. Nigga, it's in the formulaic approach to how these Ricos go. They're coming for you next. She did say this. I think
Mm-hmm.
his name was Gene Deal. Gene was a bodyguard for Diddy that came out and told stories directly about Diddy going to sex shops, and Gene was protecting him, thinking he was going to go to like the guy side of the sex shops, buying like what are they called? Y'all know what they're called, the pocket pussies. Um, and Diddy went over there and found the dicks, according to Gene Deal.
Amen. But
Big ass dildos.
this is my point. If we as a community was just like, yo, this is his bodyguard, we should keep an eye on Diddy and check him the next time he says something. Maybe he has a little more backup. Like the fact that I hate that we came back around to this, but this is
My
kind of
bad.
the
Yeah, my
conversation.
bad. My
No,
bad.
no, no,
Mm-hmm.
no, no.
My
You're
bad.
good, but like I feel like this is a good bow to put on it. Like we the people, like the collective, us, we let that man change his name to Brother Love and let him go unchecked. Like
Yeah,
or made him one of his aliases. Like so
I think the tie to you better is like we oftentimes have a problem with alternative media coming from people that look like us, and that's the issue. Because
Mm-hmm.
Fox News, NBC, MSNBC, they're not going to cover this the way that black media has actively covered this for the better part of 35 years. I'm in tune to it because I don't trust mainstream media because, again, these are mediocre shills playing musical chairs at the behest of faceless billionaires. And if you think that that's an incorrect thing of how to look at video game companies, look at movie companies, look at any of these things. Are there truly new people occupying these seats of CEO, CFO, C suite? No.
nah, man,
It's somebody from right over there.
they just do the shuffle.
That's all
Mm-hmm.
that it is. Why do you think that it is? Do you think that these people have such a beautiful, stellar resume or is it because you're a part of something that we're all a part of and we trust you enough to hold our secrets when you're here, moving and operating for us?
I mean, honestly, that's why the whole Epstein thing was such big news for long. And again,
My bad.
high
I'm not
allegedly,
trying to be a Debbie Downer. I'm not
no, no,
trying.
no, no, no. But high allegedly, that man didn't kill himself. But yeah, but
Not trying to be a Debbie.
these are the conversations. Like, if I'm just gonna wrap it up, if we have more power, if we maintain our own discernment, that's. I think that's kind of where we're at here, at least to begin this conversation. We can go all sorts of different. We can break it down and keep talking about it in so many different ways, but at least for tonight, I think that's kind of the big thing here is that again, we are not a monolith. We can all have our different thoughts, but as a group, let's not even support each other. I think we just have to protect each other more appropriately. That's what I'm gonna say because we unfortunately do the blind thing of he black, we gotta protect him. R. Kelly,
Mm-mm.
Jesse Smollett, Bill Cosby. Now we've got Diddy. Like we
What about
a
that
lot of it.
muscular nigga? What about that big muscular Haitian nigga that be dancing at restaurants? Get him out of here too. I don't like this nigga. Jazo, you know exactly who I'm talking about.
Are you talking? The I'm gonna steal your girl guy or whatever.
Get him out of here. Get him out of
you're not wrong, but like these are the things. It's just
here.
like,
My bad.
no, no, you're,
I came in too aggressive. My bad. My bad. My bad.
but yeah, no, like you're right. Like it comes to a point where it's like, what do we stop accepting? Like, I think that's what we should consider. Like, I don't care if you're a bourgeoisie person. If you're hurting us, I don't accept that. Diddy's hurting, allegedly, even though it's looking very likely that he's assaulted many of black women. I don't accept that. Get your ass in
Mhm.
jail. Like,
Go directly to
Bill
jail. Do not
Cosby,
pass go.
Do not pass.
do not collect anything. Forget 200. Do not collect anything. Get your
Oh,
ass in
Jacob,
jail.
before you pass over, not you two. I rock with y'all, gentlemen. Let me talk to you, watching, who think that you're hidden. I saw y'all did the same thing with R. Kelly. When it was sexually assaulting SA women, trafficking women, everything else, drugging, all that other stuff, that was a debatable. But as soon as it came out that that individual was bi, we're talking about the R. Kelly thing. When that came out, because that conflicted with your like
Masculine ideals.
hegemonic masculinity and everything else like that, that's when you drew the line. You're a weirdo. May you never experience peace, and may your kids forever know conflict because you're weird. You don't look at evil for what evil is, you look at it for being discomfort unto you. With that being said, may your dreams echo your reality. May you suffer, may you struggle, may you toil with your own insecurities, and may your kids absorb that and inherit that once you're passed on because you are a shit person. That's it.
Oh, we had our Caleb moment of the night here.
Mm.
Anything you want to add? No, no, you good. We might need to make this a thing. But anything you want to add, Devin, to wrap this up here?
So, to add something to that message directly to those same people there, just know that I am disappointed, but I hope that you learn to be better. I hope that you learn from this, so then that way your children learn from this, so that way we will have a better society in the future. Like, I don't want to wish bad upon you because all that's going to do is just get passed on. I want you to be better, so then that way we can see better in the future. That's all I'm going to say on that.
He's the nice one, if y'all didn't know.
Yeah, we got the good cop, bad cop thing going here, you know.
And I'm somewhere in the middle. But I think, yeah, I think it's a good place to wrap it up because again, great discussion. I'm definitely looking forward to more of these. And one thing I want us to do to kind of wrap things up is to leave you with a quote. To kind of keep in theme with our podcast, I want it to be a more of a like a movie or entertainment quote that's applicable to the conversation. The quote I initially had doesn't seem to be the right one given how this conversation went. I initially wrote one down, but I don't think it fully fits the conversation. So I'm going to kind of double up here. My first quote to end the night comes from Glass Onion, the movie. Um, it's when LeBlanc says, "It's a dangerous thing to mistake speaking without thought for speaking the truth." And that encapsulates part of this conversation. Just because we as a people want to say this is the culture, that doesn't necessarily make it true. We want it to be true. We can aspire, we can work towards that, but in that moment, just because you say it doesn't make it fact. And you can say anything from, hey, Drake's the greatest rapper ever. Is it factual? That's debatable. But I would like to use a second quote to kind of fully encapsulate it. This is actually from Denzel Washington. I believe it was an interview he had. You never know how or when you'll have an impact or how important your example can be to someone else. And on that note, thank y'all for tuning into another episode of the Just No BS podcast. I've been your boy John.
This is Dev.
This is me. Cal. Have a good one.
Peace.